finally happening. The tension between Ford and Donald Trump has hit a boiling point, and now everything is on the line. Ford has just made a move that could shake up the entire auto industry, announcing plans to take electric vehicle production overseas. This means fewer jobs in the U.S., a direct hit to American workers, and a challenge to everything Trump has fought for. This is not just about one company or one president. This could reshape American manufacturing as we know it. In this video, we are exposing the full story. Buckle up, because this fight is far from over. What's happening? It started as an ordinary corporate announcement, but within hours, it had turned into one of the biggest economic controversies in recent memory. Ford, a company deeply woven into the fabric of American manufacturing, declared that it was shifting a significant portion of its electric vehicle production overseas. The decision was met with immediate shockwaves, not just within the auto industry, but across the nation. For over a century, Ford has been a symbol of American strength, resilience, and industry. From the Model T to the modern F-Series trucks, the company built its legacy on domestic production and its commitment to American workers. Yet in an era where electric vehicles are becoming the new frontier, Ford executives made a bold and controversial choice. They would expand production outside the United States, a move that many saw as an abandonment of their patriotic roots. To some, this was a simple business decision, an effort to cut costs and stay competitive in the rapidly evolving auto market. But to others, it was an outright betrayal, a slap in the face to American workers who had supported the company for generations. The backlash was immediate. Industry leaders, political figures, and everyday Americans questioned Ford's motives, demanding answers. Yet this was only the beginning. Within hours of the announcement, the most powerful voice in American politics weighed in: Donald Trump, and he was not happy. If Ford knew this move would ignite a firestorm, why did they do it? The answer lies in a mix of economic pressures, supply chain struggles, and the cutthroat competition of the electric vehicle market. Why Ford took the risk? Ford's decision to move a significant portion of its electric vehicle production abroad was not made overnight. It was the result of years of mounting pressure, rising production costs, global supply chain disruptions, and the aggressive expansion of foreign competitors. The electric vehicle industry is no longer just a niche market. It is the future of transportation, and the companies that fail to adapt will be left behind. Ford knew this. However, competing in the global electric vehicle space required more than just innovation. It required cost efficiency, stable supply chains, and access to critical materials like lithium and cobalt. Unfortunately for Ford, those resources were becoming increasingly expensive and difficult to secure within the United States. One of the major challenges Ford faced was the rising cost of manufacturing on American soil. The cost of raw materials had surged in recent years, driven in part by tariffs imposed during Trump's presidency. These tariffs, intended to boost domestic production, had the unintended consequence of making electric vehicle manufacturing significantly more expensive for American automakers. As a result, Ford found itself at a disadvantage, forced to either absorb the costs or find cheaper alternatives abroad. Then there was the issue of supply chains. The auto industry operates on a just-in-time production model, meaning that any disruption can lead to major setbacks. The COVID-19 pandemic had already exposed vulnerabilities in global supply chains, and Ford was not willing to risk further instability. By shifting production to countries where supply lines were more reliable, the company aimed to secure a steady flow of materials and components. But there was another factor at play: competition. Tesla, General Motors, and foreign automakers like Hyundai and Volkswagen were rapidly expanding their electric vehicle production. If Ford wanted to keep up, it needed to move fast. The company's leadership believed that expanding overseas would allow them to scale production quickly and efficiently, ensuring that they remained a major player in the electric revolution. Ford's decision was a calculated risk, but it was one they believed was necessary for survival. However, they underestimated one thing: the political firestorm that would follow. And no one was more furious than Donald Trump. His response was swift, aggressive, and designed to rally his supporters against the automaker. Trump's outrage and immediate response. At a rally packed with thousands of his supporters, Trump took the stage, his signature energy on full display. But this time, his anger was directed not at his political rivals, but at one of America's most iconic companies. Ford has turned its back on the American worker, Trump declared, his voice echoing through the arena. They are shipping your jobs overseas while you're left to pick up the pieces. We built Ford. The American worker built Ford, and this is how they repay us? The crowd erupted in cheers and boos. Not against Trump, but against Ford. In their eyes, this was more than just a corporate decision. It was an attack on American jobs, an abandonment of the very people who had supported the company for decades. Trump's outrage was not just for show. Within hours of the rally, he began discussing potential retaliatory measures. Could tariffs be increased even further? Could federal incentives for Ford be revoked? His political allies quickly joined the fight, vowing to take action against companies that prioritized global production over American workers. This was not the first time Trump had clashed with corporate America. Throughout his presidency, he had pressured companies to keep manufacturing in the United States, threatening tariffs and regulatory action against those that failed to comply. But this time, the stakes felt even higher. With the electric vehicle market poised to define the future of transportation, Trump saw Ford's move as a direct challenge to his vision of economic nationalism. With both Ford and Trump standing their ground, the controversy reached a boiling point. The battle lines were drawn, and the nation was about to witness one of the most heated corporate political showdowns in modern history. The battle lines are drawn. The controversy over Ford's announcement quickly spilled into the media landscape, with pundits, analysts, and journalists dissecting every angle of the story. Some praised Ford's strategic decision, arguing that American companies needed to think globally to survive in an increasingly competitive market. Others echoed Trump's outrage, calling for boycotts and political action against the automaker. But the most immediate impact was felt by Ford's workers. In cities like Detroit, Chicago, and Louisville, employees began to worry about their futures. Would Ford's shift overseas lead to job losses at home? Would Trump's threats against the company cause instability? Uncertainty loomed over the industry, with workers caught in the middle of a corporate and political showdown. But this fight was far from over. With Ford refusing to back down and Trump doubling down on his attacks, the next phase of the war was about to begin. The consequences of this battle would go far beyond politics. As news of the controversy spread, investors and analysts began sounding the alarm, leading to another devastating blow: the stock market and corporate fallout. Ford's stock had already been under pressure, struggling to keep up with the soaring valuations of electric vehicle giants like Tesla. But after its decision to move electric vehicle production abroad, the company's financial situation took a turn for the worse. As soon as Trump called for a boycott, investors panicked. Within hours, Ford's stock price plummeted, wiping out billions of dollars in market value. Wall Street analysts scrambled to assess the damage. Was Ford making a strategic long-term move? Or had it severely underestimated the political and economic risks? Some argued that shifting production overseas was the only viable path forward in a hyper-competitive global market. Others saw it as a massive miscalculation, one that could cost Ford not only financially, but also in consumer trust. Rival automakers wasted no time in reacting. General Motors, always locked in fierce competition with Ford, subtly positioned itself as the more patriotic alternative. Tesla, led by Elon Musk, capitalized on the controversy by reaffirming its commitment to American-made vehicles. "This is why we build here," Musk tweeted, fueling speculation that Tesla could attract defecting Ford customers. The stock market reaction was just the beginning of Ford's financial troubles. Major institutional investors, wary of the growing political firestorm, began reconsidering their positions. Hedge funds that had previously bet on Ford's electric vehicle expansion now saw increased volatility, and some started reducing their stakes. Meanwhile, Ford's leadership found itself in damage control mode. Chief Executive Officer James Farley reassured shareholders that the company remained committed to American jobs, pointing to massive domestic investments in electric vehicle plants in Michigan and Tennessee. But words were not enough to calm the markets. Investors wanted action, and Ford had little time to turn the narrative around before it suffered lasting reputational damage. But while Wall Street and investors debated Ford's financial future, another group was already feeling the immediate consequences: the real cost to American workers. For many factory workers, Ford's decision was not just a business move. It was a direct threat to their livelihoods. Across assembly plants in Michigan, Kentucky, and Ohio, rumors spread of potential job cuts. The uncertainty was crushing for thousands of workers who had built their careers with Ford. relying on the stability of manufacturing jobs that had already been dwindling over the years. Ford had promised that its new investments in domestic electric vehicle plants would create jobs, but that was little comfort to workers who saw production shifting abroad. For those already living paycheck to paycheck, the idea of plant closures or reduced shifts was terrifying. Layoffs could mean losing health insurance, struggling to pay mortgages, and facing an uncertain future in an economy that was becoming increasingly automated and globalized. Beyond factory workers, the ripple effects extended across the auto supply chain. American suppliers that provided materials, parts, and components to Ford faced declining orders. Smaller businesses that depended on Ford's manufacturing ecosystem, everything from local machine shops to logistics companies, started preparing for economic turbulence. And just as it seemed the situation couldn't get any worse, Trump made his next move, one that could push the entire industry into deeper chaos. Revenge or negotiation? With the Ford controversy dominating headlines, he saw an opportunity, not just for revenge against the automaker, but to solidify his influence over the American economy. The question was, how far would he go? In the days following the boycott call, Trump hinted at possible government action against Ford. Would he push for new tariffs on automakers that moved production overseas? Would he threaten to revoke federal subsidies for Ford's electric vehicle program? His allies in Congress wasted no time proposing retaliatory measures, introducing bills aimed at penalizing companies that outsourced manufacturing. Yet, some within Trump's own circle urged caution. Escalating the conflict could trigger broader economic consequences, potentially harming other American companies that relied on global supply chains. Furthermore, with a potential presidential campaign on the horizon, Trump had to consider whether an all-out war with Ford would benefit or hurt his electoral prospects. Then came an unexpected twist: private talks between Ford executives and Trump's team. Could there be a compromise? Ford had already committed billions of dollars to U.S. electric vehicle plants. If Trump wanted a political win, he could push for a deal that ensured additional American jobs in exchange for easing his public criticism. But Trump was never known for backing down. At yet another rally, he doubled down, vowing to hold Ford accountable and urging American consumers to send a message with their wallets. The pressure was mounting, and Ford faced a crucial decision: continue down its chosen path and risk permanent political damage, or attempt to repair its fractured relationship with Trump and his supporters. And with tensions still rising, the next phase of this showdown would be even more unpredictable. What would Ford do next? What would Trump's next move be? And would the American auto industry ever be the same? Who gains from Ford's gamble? While Ford grapples with backlash, other automakers are eyeing a chance to gain ground. General Motors, Tesla, Toyota, and even newer players like Rivian could stand to benefit from Ford's gamble, depending on how the situation unfolds. For General Motors, Ford's turmoil presents an opening to solidify its position as the leading American automaker. As the company heavily invests in electric vehicles, any negative attention on Ford could shift consumer and investor confidence toward General Motors. With its own lineup of electric vehicles, including the Chevrolet Silverado EV and Cadillac Lyriq, General Motors has the potential to position itself as the more reliable, America-first alternative. Tesla, on the other hand, is in a unique position. As a company that has built its brand on innovation and domestic production, Tesla could capitalize on the backlash against Ford's overseas expansion. Elon Musk has repeatedly touted Tesla's commitment to American manufacturing. And with Trump-aligned consumers looking for alternatives to Ford, Tesla may find itself winning over an unexpected segment of the market. Then there's Toyota and other foreign automakers that operate major production facilities in the United States. Toyota has long been perceived as an American-friendly foreign brand due to its extensive manufacturing footprint in states like Kentucky, Texas, and Indiana. If consumers begin to see Ford as abandoning American workers, Toyota could reinforce its position as the company that, despite being Japanese-owned, still prioritizes American jobs. But Ford's decision is not just about one company. It's part of a much bigger war. The global battle for electric vehicle dominance is accelerating, and the stakes have never been higher. The race for electric vehicle dominance. Ford's announcement is just one chapter in the ongoing fight for control of the electric vehicle market. Across the world, automakers are racing to stake their claim in the next era of transportation. While the United States debates the merits of reshoring and national loyalty, global competitors are surging ahead, investing billions in electric vehicle technology, infrastructure, and supply chains. China is already leading the charge, with companies like BYD and NIO pushing aggressive expansion plans. China has rapidly become the world's largest producer of electric vehicles. The country has invested heavily in battery technology, securing vital resources like lithium and cobalt, while simultaneously building a massive domestic market for electric cars. While Ford and Trump battle over manufacturing policy, China is quietly positioning itself as the dominant force in the industry. Meanwhile, European automakers like Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz are making their own power plays. Volkswagen, in particular, has doubled down on its electric vehicle strategy, investing over $100 billion in electric production and battery development. With governments in Europe pushing aggressive carbon neutrality goals, European automakers are being incentivized to innovate and scale at an unprecedented pace. And this is where the political battle truly begins. For some, Ford's move represents necessary progress. For others, it's the latest example of corporate betrayal. The divide between these two views is about more than just one company. It reflects a deep ideological rift in America. Progress versus nationalism. On one side are those who see globalization as an inevitability, arguing that for American companies to remain competitive, they must embrace international production and supply chains. On the other side are those who believe that companies have a patriotic duty to keep jobs in America, even if it means higher costs and slower growth. Progressives argue that Ford's shift is simply a reflection of the modern economy. The reality, they claim, is that the auto industry is evolving, and companies that do not adapt will fail. They see Ford's decision as a necessary step toward competing with global leaders like China and Germany. Many also emphasize the importance of sustainability, pointing out that Ford's move is about ramping up electric vehicle production, rather than offshoring traditional gas-powered vehicle jobs. Nationalists, on the other hand, see things very differently. To them, Ford's decision is yet another example of corporate greed undermining American workers. The promise of Made in America has been a cornerstone of conservative economic messaging, and Ford's move directly contradicts that. Trump and his supporters view this as a betrayal, another instance of an American company prioritizing profits over patriotism. This ideological clash extends beyond just Ford. It reflects a broader question about the future of American industry. Can the United States embrace globalization while still protecting its workers? Or must the country take a more aggressive stance against outsourcing to prevent further economic decline? The Ford-Trump battle is forcing America to confront these tough questions. The answer could determine the future of manufacturing in the United States. Will America double down on reshoring? Or is this the beginning of an irreversible shift toward globalization? Ford's gamble may be the first major test of what the future holds. And you can't talk about globalization and not mention China. See, they have been quietly planning, and this is the opportunity they have been waiting for. China's growing influence over Mexico's auto industry. While Washington and Mexico City exchange tariffs and retaliatory measures, Beijing has been expanding its influence in Latin America, particularly in the automotive sector. The timing could not be more strategic. As U.S. automakers face supply chain disruptions and political instability, China's electric vehicle manufacturers are making inroads into Mexico's auto industry, positioning themselves to take advantage of the shifting landscape. For years, China has been working to establish itself as the global leader in electric vehicle production. Companies like BYD, NIO, and Geely have rapidly scaled their manufacturing capabilities, leveraging government support, advanced battery technology, and lower production costs. However, one major obstacle has hindered their entry into the highly lucrative U.S. market: tariffs. The Trump administration imposed stiff tariffs on Chinese-made vehicles, effectively blocking China's direct competition with U.S. automakers. Now, China may have found a way around these trade barriers. By using Mexico as a manufacturing hub, several Chinese automakers have already begun investing in Mexican factories, taking advantage of the country's free trade agreements with North America. Under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, vehicles assembled in Mexico can be exported to the United States with lower tariffs, provided they meet certain requirements. By setting up production in Mexico, Chinese automakers could effectively sidestep U.S. import taxes while benefiting from the country's established auto supply chain. Mexico, facing increasing pressure from the United States over trade disputes, has welcomed these investments. The country has been eager to diversify its economic partnerships, reducing its reliance on American automakers and bringing in new jobs and capital. China's presence in Mexico is growing rapidly, and if current trends continue, Beijing could soon have a strong foothold in North America's auto industry. As China strengthens its grip on global car manufacturing, another set of countries is preparing to capitalize on America's auto struggles. Across the Pacific, South Korea and Japan see a golden opportunity to expand their dominance in the industry. South Korea and Japan. While American automakers grapple with political conflicts and supply chain issues, South Korea and Japan are emerging as the industry's steady and adaptable players. Companies like Hyundai, Toyota, and Honda are not just surviving amid the chaos, they are thriving. Japan's auto industry has long been synonymous with reliability and efficiency. Toyota, the world's largest automaker, has perfected the balance between innovation and cost control. While U.S. manufacturers struggle with fluctuating production costs and political uncertainty, Japanese carmakers continue to streamline their operation, ensuring steady production and competitive pricing. Honda, Nissan, and other major Japanese brands are also positioning themselves as leaders in the hybrid and electric vehicle space, expanding their market reach as American companies scramble to keep up. Meanwhile, South Korea's Hyundai and Kia are rapidly gaining market share, particularly in the electric vehicle sector. Hyundai's electric models, such as the Ioniq series, have received widespread acclaim for their affordability, performance, and advanced technology. South Korean automakers have also benefited from proactive government policies that support clean energy vehicle development and battery production. Unlike the United States, where electric vehicle policies have been a political battleground, South Korea has taken a unified approach, ensuring its companies remain globally competitive. The weakness of U.S. automakers presents a clear opportunity for these Asian manufacturers. If Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis fail to resolve their production challenges and stabilize their supply chains, South Korea and Japan will step in to fill the void. Already, these automakers are increasing their exports to North America, expanding production facilities, and investing heavily in research and development. Consumers are also taking notice. While American-made cars once dominated the U.S. market, Japanese and South Korean vehicles are becoming the preferred choice for many buyers due to their reliability, efficiency, and cutting-edge technology. If the current trend continues, the shift in market dominance could become permanent. But there is another player on the rise, one that has been quietly building its own auto empire. While the world focuses on China, Japan, and South Korea, India is making bold moves to become the next global manufacturing powerhouse. The rise of India. For decades, India's auto industry has operated in the shadow of larger players like the United States, China, and Japan. But that is changing. With rapid industrial growth, government-backed initiatives, and ambitious automakers like Tata Motors and Mahindra, India is positioning itself as a serious contender in the global car market. India's automotive sector has one major advantage: cost efficiency. Labor costs in India are significantly lower than in North America, Europe, or even China. This allows manufacturers to produce vehicles at a fraction of the cost while maintaining profitability. With rising costs plaguing American automakers, some industry experts believe that India could emerge as the next major hub for affordable car production, replacing Mexico in the long run. Tata Motors, one of India's largest automakers, has already expanded its reach beyond domestic sales, acquiring brands like Jaguar and Land Rover. The company has also heavily invested in electric vehicles, aiming to compete with global giants in the green energy market. Mahindra, another key Indian player, has focused on producing rugged, affordable vehicles suited for both emerging markets and global exports. India's government is going all in, introducing policies that encourage electric vehicle production, battery development, and export expansion. With a booming middle class and a growing demand for vehicles both domestically and internationally, India is rapidly becoming a major force in global auto manufacturing. But can India truly replace Mexico as the go-to hub for North American auto production? That depends on several factors, including trade policy, infrastructure development, and how aggressively Indian automakers pursue foreign expansion. If India can overcome logistical challenges and strengthen its global trade partnerships, it could very well become the next auto superpower. The global auto industry is shifting like never before, and the battle for dominance is just getting started. Will American automakers fight back, or will foreign manufacturers take over the market for good? Let us know what you think in the comments below.